So, welcome. Welcome to Conversations with Dre. This is my first podcast for the future, I guess. We can say it that way. So, the reason why I started this podcast, because there's a lot of things that's out there that, I just want to talk about and not focus so much on the past of things and not focus so much on the future things, but focus on the right now. And that's what this podcast is about. That's what Conversations with Dre is all about. And I definitely know that there's a bunch of people that are out there that feel like there's information that is just being so decisive and so predictable that everybody's talking about the same things when there's so much issues that are under the surface that are not getting any push out or not getting any publicity or not even being talked about. And that's what we want to do with this podcast. We want to bring things that are going on that are under the surface that are very important to our everyday life as human beings in America. So I just wanted to open up and to welcome you to the first installment of Conversations with Dre. I am Drayton Jackson. You can log on to draytondjackson.com to the Conversations with Dre podcast, and welcome to the Father Empowerment Series. What's good? And like I said, welcome to the first podcast for Conversations with Dre. And we definitely wanted to hit this series off really good. And this is the Father Empowerment Series. And I definitely think that there's so much to talk about in regards to fathers, in regards to dads, fatherhood, and all of that. And then we just wanted to really jump into the changing dynamics. So society is changing. And that's overall. We're seeing a lot of change. We're seeing a lot of fight back. We're seeing a lot of the old thinking go out the door. We're seeing a lot of ideologies be challenged in today's society, which it should. That's growth. You know what I'm saying? As a society, we have to grow. And you can't grow unless change happens. And a lot of people are afraid of change. I'll say it that way. And society, especially when it comes to men, have put us in this box. And we have done it with women. We have done it overall. But who has done it is the question. And it's not individuals. It's institutions. It's government. It's programs. Even in school. You know what I'm saying? We are teaching division without even understanding that we're teaching division. You know what I'm saying? So we do it in sports and everything else. So I stumbled down on research. Everything that we put out, I made sure I did some deep research and a lot of reading. Got back into my reading. Good Lord. So I went out and I was just trying to figure out what has changed in society today. And there's online website called The Conversation. Right? Conversation with Dre? Nah. But The Conversation, which is a lot of research, academic research, and lets people go in, professors and scholars go in and do some reports. And I found a great research paper, an article by Reginald Williams in The Conversation, Why Dads Can't Be the Dads That They Want to Be. And it's about more than gender dynamics. Do social institutions get in the way of dads being dads? And this was done May 2017, so it is recent. And he really dives in deep on the changing dynamics in society today and also how institutions are messing us up as not just dads, but destroying and possibly hurting families in today's society, no matter what race or age. So, you look at this, and then, of course, he goes to Pew. You will find me use Pew Research a lot. I love them. I think that they do some great work over there. So, shout outs to Pew Research and, the reports and stuff that they do there. But I want to start off with reading what he's talking about and just give a quote from his online article. We will have everything that we talk about, the websites and everything, a link to all of them so you guys can go check it out yourself and dive deeper into it. All right. Reginald Williams from The Conversation says this: Pew also reports that fathers are putting more time into their families than ever before. Yet many social scientists argue that subtle forms of parenting inequality endured. Some scholars and commentators argue that the equality results from a patriarchal gender ideology, a power dynamic that affects how parents socialize their children and what role men and women take on in families. Now, he goes on to go into the father part of it, where he says fathers repeatedly tell researchers that they want to be more involved parents, yet public policy and social institutions often prevent them from being the dads that they want to be, hurting moms, dads, and children alike. I really have to say, he's right on point with this. I have a fatherhood class where I go and I teach organizations how to be more open and transparent to fathers when they come into their centers and stuff like that, and having conversations. And I think the dynamics of our society structures in a way that it really puts men to the side. And I think that men created that. Let me just say it that way, because men are in charge, right? Men are the ones that lead. So all of the quote unquote other stuff, you leave that to women to do, which to me doesn't make any sense, because now we're fighting on a system that men have put up to try to break back down. I remember back in the days when I was with my ex-wife, we would go to the doctor. I would make sure, it was a key effort for me to make sure that I went into that first doctor's appointment and let that doctor know that I was there. I may have not went to every doctor's appointment, but any of the doctor's appointment I did go to, I made sure that I expressed my questions or whatever it may be. But in almost all of the doctor's appointments, they would always look at my ex-wife. They wouldn't even bother looking at me. So I would always have to interject and ask a question to get them to look at me. And I think that this is what we're dealing with in society, and these are the walls that we kind of put up for ourselves. So look, we're going to take a first break, and we're going to come back, and this is the first installment of Conversations with Dre. It is the first installment of the Fatherhood series and Father Empowerment series. And hey, stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. Just stay right there. Be right back. Today's show is brought to you by Cars Auto Repair at 3740 Wheaton Way in Bremerton, Washington. Fixing cars in Kitsap County for more than 10 years. Give Chris a call, 360-561-1566. Welcome back to Conversations with Dre. We are dealing with the Father Empowerment series. Oh, man. As we were talking in the beginning, we're talking about society changing, and the role of fathers and men in general has changed overall. And we're talking a lot about the dynamics that were put up and how social and societal restraints, if I could say it that way, have really damaged, a lot of fathers' involvement in their family, not just in the children, but in the family. And we're dealing with theconversation.com, an article by academic scholar called Reginald Williams, and he May 17th, he was talking about why dads can't be the dads that they want to be. It's about more than gender dynamics. Do social institutions get in the way of dads being dads? And he was going off of the Pew report that just talked about a lot of fathers wanting to be more involved in their lives, but then he went on to say that it's a lot of social institutions that are preventing these things from happening, and it's hurting us as a family. So he gives a breakdown of a couple of things that really takes place in this dynamics, right? So from the standpoint, we're not talking about relationships, because that would just be dealing with the men aspect, but we're talking about fathers and everything. And he goes deep into this and gives a couple of outlines that makes a whole lot of sense. The thing that he touches on first is the wasting the magic moment. So the whole part is prenatal care. Soon as you find out that you're a father, for me, every time was exciting because it was a new adventure, right? And you're like, wow, okay, you know what I'm saying? Except when I became 40 and it's like, wow, really? Then it's like, shout out to Xavier. But the thing that winds up happening is, from that standpoint on, when that first doctor's visit, what he's saying is that a lot of dads are really pushed to the side, right? So dads who are actively included in prenatal care from the stronger father identity for themselves and are good parents by virtually any measure, right? So then he goes on to say this, and I'm going to read from it, and this is really important, right? Dads are often actively excluded from prenatal care, right? Offices are really not designed in ways to help doctors and nurses engage dads with their unborn child. For example, many ultrasound rooms do not include space for fathers to see their child for the first time. In general, a lot of the doctors emphasize mothers' and child's health to the exclusion of other members of the family system. So basically what he's saying here is that even from the doctor's part, and I know what he meant, let me tell you, that room is small. A lot of times, the seat is there for the doctor to sit, and the doctor sit next to the ultrasound, and boom, next thing you know, you have to scoot over to the other side, you know what I'm saying, and try to see the screen. So I remember for my wife now, we didn't do any childbirth classes, right? Can't remember why. My ex-wife and I, we did, right? For my daughter Takaya, when we found out that she was pregnant, that was one of the first things that we wanted to do was, do this birthing class where you go in and breathe and everything like that. And I can't front. It was a lot of discomfort for me as a father, especially a black male father. You know what I'm saying? Because we kept getting those looks. We was a lot. I think we had like 2 black families that was in there with us. And what was so uncomfortable for me, and this was just me, was seeing some of the mothers that did not have the father there. Right? Or they will bring their girlfriend there with them to do it. So that was really uncomfortable for me overall. But, it was interesting to see if discomfortable a lot of men were. So I went online, I was looking for something. So boot camp, right, for new dads, bootcampfornewdads.org, right, which is a childbirth and education for new fathers and stuff. This is what they said, right? They gave a list of things that they feel or they've researched from asking fathers that really discourages them overall, right? And then I'm going to read it off the list and then we'll go on. Men prefer to forego hazing ritual of wearing an empathy belly in front of others, which is so degrading to me. You know what I'm saying? Here it is. You're putting on this belly to show, oh, this is what your wife goes through. Trust me, I know what she's going through with the pain. I'm not going to feel it like she's going to feel it even with the belly, right? So men do not like to be made to look stupid in childbirth classes. There's a value in, at times, separating the couples in your class into gender groups to promote discussions of issues unique to being a mom and a dad. Dads prefer to be referred to as dad in class as opposed to partner, coach, or other alternatives, right? Designed to promote inclusive atmosphere. Partners in class who are not dads should be given the option to say what they would want to be called. Childbirth class is a venue that can promote a father's connection to the pregnancy. And that's the part that they're making, right, from boot camp for new dads, is that point. From that point on is when our enrollment should be into our child's life. Let's say it that way, as a family. And I think this is the issue that I have is talk to us, you know what I'm saying, as a family and not individually. And that's what I see with a lot of institutions. I don't care where you go, whether you go to, doctor's office or you go to the bank or something like that. Women in certain aspects are talked to a lot. In certain other aspects, men are talked to a lot. You go to a car dealership, they don't talk to the women, they talk to the men. So what this is saying is from the childbirth class is when we can start that interaction into getting to know the father's involvement in that. And I think that they make a good point that this is where it can start at. We're going to come back more with the research. We're going to take another break. And welcome to Conversations with Dre. This is the Father Empowerment Series. Today's show is brought to you by Cars Auto Repair at 3740 Wheaton Way in Bremerton, Washington. Fixing cars in Kitsap County for more than 10 years. Give Chris a call, 360-561-1566. Welcome back to Conversations with Dre. I am Drayton Jackson. Log on to draytondjackson.com. And if you're already there, hey, So the thing that we're talking about is this father empowerment series. We're going to put together a bunch of conversations dealing with fathers, dads, and just go down the line and get some information out there that's going on in this changing society of ours and this changing world of ours in regards to who we are. And fathers and dads are definitely making a change. The conversation, which is conversation.com, we will have the link for you on the website. And Reginald Williams definitely put out this beautiful, I think, report and article in regards to dads cannot be the dads that they want to be. It's about more than gender dynamics due to social institutions getting in the way of dads being dads. And this was done May 11th, 2017. Like I said, we're going to have the link for you up there. But he brings up some great points in dealing with how the institutions are getting involved in a way that is hurting the family in general and all the way around. And what we dealt with last time was just, wasting that magic moment in prenatal care, how the doctor's office for the ultrasound, child rearing classes do not really deal with fathers in a way that they should, or involve fathers the way that they should in that process. And the point that he's making is that from the beginning, that's when it needs to really start. So we kind of went to boot camps for new dads, which is online bootcampsfornewdads.org. We'll have the link up there again for you. And they bring up a point that the things that men don't want. Something like men prefer to forego the substitute hazing ritual of wearing a empathy belly in front of others. Dads prefer to be referred to as dads in class and not partners, coach, or other alternative designs to promote an alternative atmosphere, and childbearing classes is a venue that can promote a father's connection to the pregnancy. And, we were just dealing with all of the things that's missing out of that. You know what I'm saying? So here we are, and he goes on to talk about after the baby is born. This lack of support from the medical profession may hurt families in the long run. My research suggests that being a parent has similar negative effects on the mental health of mothers and fathers. In fact, in some cases, we found that fathers were more likely to express depression than mothers. Failing to acknowledge the mental health of fathers can be problematic. Like depression in mothers, paternal depression has negative effects in early childhood and beyond. I kind of dealt with this too, because I always say that, I don't know if, any of you fathers and dads, you let me know, we go through some of the symptoms that mothers go through. I know that I gained weight in both of my wives' marriages, man. And when they were pregnant, I gained weight, dude. You know what I'm saying? My craving and everything. And then I think it was more or less, watching just the pain that she would go through with carrying the child. You know what I'm saying? That the thing that all of a sudden I would get these aches and pains as well. That connection of you as a husband and a wife, or, a significant other, you're there, especially if you live in the household, your significant other, and making that bond, you're really feeding off of everything that woman is going through. And I think that that's not being shown enough. The pressures, of having to know that this baby is coming and are you ready is another thing that's there. So I definitely agree with what he's saying in that. And then he goes on to say why the workplace may matter the most. I'm going to quote from what he's saying. The U.S. is the only industrialized nation in the world that does not guarantee paid maternal leave. To make matters worse, few families have to choose as to whether the mother or the father stays home. Less than 1/5 of American employees offered paid paternity leave. Meanwhile, several European countries, including France and the UK, have mandated paternal leave. Then he goes on to say this, and I think this is a great point. Research has shown that the generous family leave policy positively impacts families' health, parents' well-being, and gender equality in the workplace. And this is what we're talking about, right? So here it is. You're getting ready to have this child, and the child is here. You're getting all of the slaps on the back. Oh, you're about to be a father. But now the child is here. The mother is going through a lot. So what do we say? Slaves to our jobs, right? But we have to bring in the money. We have to take care of our family. But to what extent do we do that it destroys the family structure? So what happens? The father leaves. The mother really doesn't want him to leave. She's there with the child by herself. Oh my God. Now she has to deal with this new baby. Why she's tired now. Why she's going through it by herself. So I agree as a business owner. Yes, you don't need 2 and 3 months off as a father, or, let's work it out. I'll give you the week off. You go, you chill with your wife, whatever it may be, give her that time, come back for that week. I'll give you the next week off or something like that. Work it out. And I don't think enough businesses and companies, like he's saying, aren't giving a damn about it. Because if a father knows that he's there for his child and he's there during the crying times and giving his wife or his significant other a rest, and then here it is, he comes back, he's more energized and more prompt to do much more work for you anyway, right? So structural barriers hurt family members overall, right? So fathers like mothers can, this is a quote coming back from him, fathers like mothers can help their children grow and learn. It's clear that children and families with fathers benefit from having engagement, warm, nurturing dad. Likewise, moms, both at home and at work, benefit from dads who share the burden in taking care of the children. So what did we just say, right? If the father's there while she's tired and she's going through it, hey, you know what I'm saying? Let's really dig deep down inside and look at what are we doing as an institution, what are we doing as a company to try to help encourage this family. I'm going to go back to that. This family. We have to stop looking at people individually. If they're together and they're trying to be together, look at them and treat them as a family and understand the dynamics of that family. So I want to come back. We're going to take our last break. We're going to come back and I want to go into that Pew research a little bit and just really talk about what's going on in America with fathers and dads, man, and how the dynamics are changing in society. Welcome to Conversations with Dre. We are on the Father Empowerment Series. Be right back. Today's show is brought to you by Gather Together, Grow Together at g2g2.org, helping low-income and homeless people in Kitsap County. What's good? Welcome to Conversations with Dre podcast series. My name is Drayton Jackson. You can tune in draytondjackson.com. But look, we're dealing with the Father Empowerment series and diving into some good stuff about fathers and the changing dynamics that fathers and dads have in today's society. And there's a lot of things that have changed in regards to everything that we know and see as fathers. So we were dealing basically with a article and a research paper that was on the conversation, theconversation.com, right? Which Reginald Williams brings up a great point of why dads can't be the dads that they want to be, and he just goes deep into how the society and institutions are the blame and are really, really hurting a lot of families, and from childbirth all the way up until working for your job and your baby's born and you're not able to be there. And we were dealing with what he says is going on at the job level of not being able to get maternity leave for fathers as well. We know it for mothers, have been fighting for a long time, but America, as he says, is the only country that is not dealing with giving that maternity leave. And it's messed up because you want families or you want parents to enjoy being parents. You want them to love being a mother, love being a father without the pressures. It's already pressures on them. But now if you can't get a day off, or you get only one day, the child is being born, you got to leave work, run to the hospital, and all of that. And then here it is, you can't spend time. You're working so much, you don't really get to see the child. And then on the weekends, you're tired as well outdoors. So I think what the point that he's making makes so much sense as far as society and institutions really being the catalyst in helping fathers become more engaged, from the doctor talking to the father, and making that happen. And the disparities that are happening in this country is just so crazy to me. Because like I said, a husband and a wife go to a car dealership. A lot of times male and female sellers would talk to the man. You know what I'm saying? And it's crazy because a lot of times, the decisions, honestly, women make great financial decisions in their lives and men really, really don't. You know what I'm saying? We really a lot in society, right? So in the aspect of everything, we're doing it on so many levels that I don't think we even understand that we're doing it. But I wanted to go into the Pew research from June 15, 2017 by Kim Parker and Gretchen Livingston, where they talk about the 6 facts about American fathers. And these are, new things that are coming up. And they start off by saying this, and I want, this goes to why we're starting this podcast on father empowerment, right? Fatherhood in America, this is a quote from them. Fatherhood in America is changing. in important and sometimes surprising ways. Today's fathers who live with their children are taking a more active role in caring for them and helping out around the house. And the ranks of stay-at-home and single fathers have grown significantly in recent decades. At the same time, more and more children are growing up without a father in the home. So there's a lot of things that's going to that and understanding. And what I love about Pew, I'm always going to, throughout the podcast and any podcast that I do, I will always go to a Pew Research. I really respect them. And I think that they have great data that shows a lot. But let's go with 7 things that they say is out there that's very important in the changing dynamics of fathers. So the number 1 thing is dads are seeing parenting as central to their identity. So what they say in this is that 57% of fathers say this compared with 58% of mothers, right? So right there, we're both understanding that taking care of our children is the identity. Back in the days, you would always hear a single mother, like a badge of honor, which to me was not great. But I get the sentiment of it, is that mothers would be like, I'm taking care of my children, single mothers, and I'm doing what I have to do for that. Raising my hand like, I'm going through this. So then they go on and say this, that most dads seem to appreciate the benefits of parenthood, right? The percentage says 54% report that parenting is rewarding all of the time, as do 52% of moms. So fathers look at it more rewarding than mothers do, right? So meanwhile, 46% of fathers and 41% of mothers say they find parenting enjoyable all the time. So fathers, we love it. We do love it. So the number 2 thing that they say is changing, that dads are much more involved in their child care than they were 50 years ago. So that means that fathers are really being looked at as taking care of their children and being there, whether they're in the household or not. Right? And then they said that roughly half, 48%, say that they spend too little time with their children. Only 25% of mothers say the same. So fathers are not spending much time, but then we go back to the last article by Mr. Wright where he says institutions are the cause of that. They have to work, right? We don't work. Support your family, which we're going to in another podcast. That's all that a father is support. Nah. It's much more than that, So the number 3, it's become less common for dads to be their family's sole breadwinner. So we know that now. That mothers are out there working. Women want to work. They don't just want to stay home and bear children anymore. And that's changing in our dynamics too. So the percentage says that about a quarter of couples, 27%, who live with their children younger than 18 are in families where only the father works. So that means that both parents are out there, man. You know what I'm saying? And they're getting the time in, but who's really dealing with the children in that time when both of us are struggling to pay bills, right? So about 4 in 10, 41% say it is extremely important for a father to provide income for their children. Just 25% say the same of mothers. So that's the only thing that we're looked at. So in society has taught us, support your family, support your family, support your family. But then again, we're not there. I know rich guys myself, rich kids that I grew up with, right? That they used to hate their father. You know what I'm saying? It's like, what do you hate your father for? Well, he's never there. You know what I'm saying? Well, I'm like, well, damn, I see my father every weekend. And, they would tell me straight up, I would rather that. You know what I'm saying? Because their father's working all the time, but they got a new car, they got a new big house and all of that. So, it's a lot that goes in that, 41% of the people just say that that's all that the father's supposed to do is provide the income. Then number 4 is work-family balance is the challenge for many working fathers. So when do you balance it out? How are you supposed to balance it out? I'm working 7 days a week trying to make ends meet, trying to make sure I take care of my family. That pressure is on me. And then it's like, wow, I sit there and then, no time. I'm coming home. I'm dead tired. So here it is, dad always sleeps all the time. I got to take care of the family, right? So we have to balance that out. And where is the balance? And that's what's really being missed. You know what I'm saying? So working fathers also about as likely as working mothers to say that they would prefer to be home with their children, but that they need to work because they need the income. 48% of dads versus 42% of moms. Think on that. they want to be home, but then it's like society puts this pressure on you, right? So the number 5 is, despite changing gender roles, many still perceive mothers as better equipped than fathers to care for children. So here it is, right? When it comes to caring for the new baby, 53% of Americans say that, breastfeeding aside, mothers do a better job than fathers. Only 1% of Americans say that fathers do a better job than mothers. Another 45% say mothers and fathers do about equally well. So with the disparity there, thank God that, 1% says that, but there's still a big disparity that's what mothers should be doing. Come on. You know what I'm saying? I love being a stay-at-home dad, right? It's for me, it's chance to bond with my children. I did it with my ex-wife, was there all the time, doing birth, doing everything. And, you start to realize that this is fun, this is enjoyable, and it helped me, with my first 4 to really be engaged with my children being there every day. And number 6 is 7 out of 10 adults say it's equally important for new babies to bond with their mother and their father. About 1/4, 27% say it's more important for new babies to bond with their moms. And 2% say it's more important for new babies to bond with their fathers. Why? Why are we not understanding that fathers have fatherly instincts as well? Fathers have that connection with the baby as well, right? I used to read to all my children when they was in their mother's stomach. You know what I'm saying? And that voice, having that deep voice, when the child comes out and the first time that they hear you speak, it's like, oh, I know that voice. So that's a bond that we have that's there, right? And then to end it off, this is what they say, right? One factor that might contribute to gender differences, about half of adults, 49%, say employers put more pressure on fathers to return to work quickly after birth or adoption of a new child, while 18% say employees put more pressure on mothers. 1/3 say employees pressure mother and fathers equally. What that means, it goes back to Mr. Wright's comment, that it is social institutions that are destroying the family bond with children, and it's turning into, the worst thing. So look, this is what I'm going to say about it, right? It's true, today's dynamics are changing. And I mean, it's changing dramatically, not just in America, but throughout the world, man. You got queens in Africa that are becoming presidents and running countries. You know what I'm saying? A lot more are happening. So the gender role is not just about, being male and female anymore. It's about who can do a good job. And that's all that counts. It's about people having the decision to do what they want to do. So to be a great father and to be a great husband, what does that look like in today's time? But here we are. We want to make America great again. We want to go back to the old way. We want to go back to the way that got us in this position in the first place. Just a man going out and work. We're not talking about what that man goes through as far as pressure. That's why this series is here. That's why we have to echo these things out. Both mothers and fathers alike have to stand together as a family and fight for these things and fight for these changes. Listen, I want to thank you guys for tuning into the first podcast for Conversations with Dre, first into the Father Empowerment series. And I definitely want to make sure that, you guys understand we're going to be here. We're going to do a lot of things that I think is going to, really be important to the conversation about fathers and dads during this series in June. So listen, follow me on Facebook, draytondjackson. Drayton.djackson, right? And Instagram is draytondjackson. So there's a lot of ways to get in touch, of course, on draytondjackson.com, the website, and we're going to have all this information up there for you. Twitter is MrDDJackson. Follow me on that and get some information updated. Let's take this journey down and let's have this conversation. Until the next time, fathers, be empowered and empower a father. Conversations with Dre. Thank you.